They killed one child and woke a sleeping species. The human colony of Brighton Station floated quietly at the edge of known space. It was a small place, built for miners and families, not for war. Children played in the low-gravity halls, and parents worked long shifts, believing the Empire's promise of safety. The Galactic Empire ruled this region. They called humans junior allies, useful, weak, and replaceable. On that day, an Imperial patrol ship arrived without warning. Its dark hull blocked the stars. To the Empire, this was routine. To the humans, it felt wrong. Imperial soldiers entered the station. Their armor was heavy, their weapons always ready. They moved like they owned everything, including the air humans breathed. A small human child stood near a corridor window. He was holding a simple toy ship made of scrap metal. He looked up, curious, not afraid. The child stepped forward, just one step. The Imperial soldier turned. No warning was given. No translation device spoke. No chance was allowed. The weapon fired. The sound echoed through the station. The child fell, the toy ship sliding across the floor. Blood floated slowly in the low-gravity air. For a moment, everything froze. Then came the screams. The child's mother ran forward, her voice breaking. Security officers arrived too late. The Imperial soldiers did not react. To them, it was already over. The patrol commander reviewed the footage. He labeled the event as collateral damage, a human child, listed as a statistic. The report was sent, stamped, and closed. No apology followed. On Earth, the message arrived hours later. It was short, cold, and official. Incident confirmed. No action required. Human leaders gathered in silence. Screens showed the image of the child. No one spoke at first. They had seen war before. They had lost cities, nations, and millions. But this was different. This was not war. This was disrespect. The galaxy watched and waited. Alien worlds expected humans to cry. Some expected angry speeches. Others expected humans to submit. But Earth said nothing. Days passed, then weeks. No protests, no fleets, no threats. Behind closed doors, something changed. Old human war archives were opened. Files sealed for centuries were unlocked. Shipyards that were once museums began to move again. On Brighton Station, a small memorial was built. No flags, no speeches, just a name, carved into steel. Imperial observers laughed. One child, they said. Humans will forget. They were wrong. Earth did not forget. Earth remembered everything, deep beneath the surface. Human generals studied the Empire's habits, their mistakes, their pride. Human engineers worked without rest, not in anger, but with purpose. The silence was not weakness, it was control. Far beyond human space, something unseen moved in the dark. Ships without markings, signals that vanished as soon as they appeared. The galaxy did not notice. At the end of the meeting, Earth's leaders finally spoke. Only one sentence. It was recorded, and it was never sent to the Empire. Prepare everything, because the death of one child had done something no enemy ever achieved. It had united humanity, and the galaxy had no idea what it had just awakened. The galaxy waited for Earth to react. Everyone expected noise, anger, and fear. That was how weak species behaved. But Earth stayed silent. Imperial analysts watched human channels. No protests, no speeches, no threats. To the Empire, this silence felt like relief. They believed humans had accepted the loss. One child was nothing in a large galaxy. Inside Earth, the truth was very different. Human leaders met deep underground, far from cameras and foreign eyes. No one shouted, no one cried. They studied the Empire with calm faces. Old screens lit up the room, maps of forgotten wars, records of battles humans were never meant to win, and yet survived. A human general spoke slowly. Do not answer with words. Answer with readiness. Across Earth and its colonies, quiet orders were sent. Factories changed their output. Mining stations worked day and night. Civilian ships disappeared from public records. They were not gone. They were being transformed. Ancient shipyards, once used as museums, powered on again. Dust was cleared from massive steel docks. Human engineers smiled for the first time in years. These were not new weapons. They were old designs, built when humanity fought for survival, not pride. Alien spies noticed strange activity. Energy use increased. Signals appeared, then vanished. but nothing clear enough to report. The Empire dismissed it. Humans lacked the courage for war. They will adapt. They misunderstood something important. Humans were not adapting. They were remembering. On Earth, children were taught history again. Not stories of heroes, but stories of cost, of loss, of lines never to cross. On Brighton Station, the memorial grew. More names were added, not of the dead, but of promises. Human soldiers visited the site in silence. They did not salute. They did not kneel. They simply looked and memorized the name. Far from human space, a small Imperial supply station lost contact. No alarms, no explosions, just silence. The Empire assumed a system failure. They were wrong. Human stealth ships moved through the dark, their hulls cold, their crews silent. They observed, they measured, they waited. This was not revenge yet. This was learning. Back on Earth, a final meeting was held. Reports showed human readiness reaching levels unseen for centuries. Loss estimates were calculated, accepted, understood. A civilian advisor asked a quiet question: will the galaxy forgive us? The answer came without emotion. We are not asking for forgiveness. The silence finally ended, but not with a message, not with a threat. Something else happened. Deep space sensors across the galaxy recorded movement. Brief, sharp, impossible to track, then gone. The Empire noticed too late, because Earth had never planned to scream. Earth had planned to strike, and when humanity finally moved, the galaxy would learn the difference between a peaceful species and a patient one. The first sign came from the edge of Imperial space, a border world called Krylos Minor. It was not important, not rich, not famous, which made it perfect. Krylos Minor went dark without warning. No alarms, no distress call, no explosion seen from nearby systems, just silence. Imperial Command assumed a power failure. These things happened on outer worlds. Maintenance teams were prepared. They never arrived. Inside the system, human ships drifted like shadows. No lights, no flags, no identification codes. They did not rush. They did not celebrate. They moved with calm purpose. Human commanders watched Imperial patrol routes. They had studied them for months. They knew the timing, the habits, the overconfidence. When the strike began, it was quiet. Imperial communication arrays shut down first, one by one, clean and precise. No civilian channels were touched. Military satellites followed, disabled, not destroyed, left blind and useless. Imperial officers realized something was wrong, but by then, it was too late. Human boarding teams moved in, faces hidden behind dark visors, weapons set to low yield. They avoided living quarters. They avoided medical zones. This was not chaos. This was control. Imperial soldiers tried to fight back. Their weapons were strong, but their reactions were slow. Humans moved faster, not stronger, not larger, just prepared. Within minutes, the base command center was secured. Imperial flags were removed, not burned, not mocked, just taken down. The human commander looked at the central screen. It showed the Imperial emblem, cracked but still glowing. He gave a simple order: record everything across the galaxy. Similar events unfolded. Supply depots lost control. Weapon convoys vanished. Military stations fell silent. No civilians died. No cities burned. This confused the Empire. They expected terror. They expected destruction. Instead, they received humiliation. Imperial leaders demanded answers. How can humans strike without declaring war? How can they reach this far? The answer was simple. Humans had been here before, on Earth. All generals watched the reports. They did not smile. They did not cheer. One officer whispered, "This is only the beginning." At Krylos Minor, captured Imperial officers were treated for injuries, given water, given medical aid. This made them afraid. One officer finally asked the human commander, "Why are you doing this?" The commander answered calmly, "You killed a child." The officer laughed nervously. "One life started a war." The human commander shook his head. "No, it started a lesson." Hours later, Earth sent its first message to the galaxy. Not a threat, not a speech, just one line. "You crossed a line you did not see." The Empire tried to respond, but their channels were jammed, their fleets confused, their borders exposed. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The galaxy watched in shock. Humans had not attacked in anger. They had attacked with restraint, that frightened everyone more than rage ever could. As the human ships vanished back into the dark, leaving crippled bases behind, a single truth spread across the stars. Humanity had entered the war, not screaming, not begging, but choosing the time, the place, and the cost, and this time they were not going to stop. The Galactic Empire finally understood the truth. This was not a raid. This was not an accident. This was war. Imperial High Command ordered full retaliation. Massive fleets were deployed. Warships moved toward human space with confidence. They believed numbers would end the problem. They were wrong. Human intelligence saw everything. Every fleet movement, every supply line, every weak point. Humans had learned long ago that strength alone did not win wars. Preparation did. As Imperial fleets advanced, strange failures followed. Fuel depots exploded before arrival. Navigation systems showed false stars. Entire fleets jumped into empty space. Confusion spread. Imperial admirals shouted orders, but their screens fed them lies. Human cyber units worked in silence. No speeches, no pride, only results. On one battlefield, an Imperial armada met a small human force. The Empire laughed at first. Their ships were larger, their weapons brighter. The laughter stopped quickly. Human ships moved in tight formation, shielding each other, covering blind spots. When one ship took damage, another took its place. Humans did not retreat in panic. They retreated with purpose. Imperial commanders realized something terrifying. Humans accepted losses, not as failure, but as calculation. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations watched in fear. They had always believed humans were peaceful because they were weak. Now they understood the truth. Humans were peaceful because they were restrained. On Earth, soldiers prepared for ground battles. They painted names on their armor. Not symbols, not flags. Names. The name of the child spread across fleets and units, written on hulls, carved into steel. This war was no longer distant. It was personal. An Imperial officer captured during a failed assault asked a human medic a question. "Why do you fight like this?" The medic answered while working, "Because we know what loss means." Imperial morale began to crack. They were trained to dominate weaker species, not to face an enemy that refused to break. Human fleets pushed deeper, always avoiding civilian worlds, always striking military power. The galaxy noticed. Humans were not monsters. That made them worse, because they chose limits. At the edge of Imperial core space, alarms finally screamed. Defense networks failed in sequence. Layer after layer went dark. Imperial scientists panicked. How did they bypass everything? The answer was simple. Humans had watched, waited, learned. Now, the Imperial capital world was exposed. Not destroyed, not burning, exposed. The Empire sent emergency messages across the stars, calling for allies, calling for mercy. Many systems stayed silent. They remembered the child. In the final briefing before the next phase, a human commander spoke to his fleet, his voice calm, almost gentle. "We end this. Not with hate, but with certainty." Human ships aligned for the final approach, weapons ready, but restrained. Because the galaxy was about to learn one final lesson. Humanity did not fight to conquer. Humanity fought to protect. And anyone who threatened what humans protected would face a war they could never win. The Imperial capital world waited in fear. Its skies were filled with defense platforms. Its fleets formed massive walls of steel. For centuries, no enemy had reached this far. Now humans were here. The Galactic Empire prepared for destruction. They believed humans would burn everything. They believed humans would take revenge. That was how the Empire would have acted. Human fleets arrived in silence. No loud formations, no displays of power. They stopped just outside weapon range. Imperial leaders were confused. This was not how wars ended. A message request came from the Empire. Shaking, desperate, late, Earth accepted. On the main screen, a human representative appeared. No crown, no armor, just a calm face. The Imperial Council demanded terms, threatened retaliation, promised future peace. The human answer was simple. You already chose war. Imperial commanders ordered their weapons to charge, fearing hesitation more than defeat. Before the first shot could fire, every Imperial weapon went offline, all at once, across the planet. Across the fleets, panic spread. Human systems had already taken control. The Empire realized the truth too. Latent humans had won before this moment. Human strike teams moved in, targeting only command centers, only leaders, only those responsible. No cities burned, no civilians were harmed. The galaxy watched in disbelief. This was not extermination, this was judgment. Imperial rulers were arrested, their titles stripped, their power removed. A new message was broadcast to every system, every species, every world. It came from Earth. We did not come to rule you, we came to set a boundary. Images of the human child were shown, not in anger, not in rage, but in memory. You killed a child. You called it nothing. This is the cost of calling human lives expendable. The Empire was forced to sign a treaty. New laws were written into galactic code. Human civilians were placed under absolute protection. Violations would mean human response, not negotiation, across the galaxy. Reactions spread. Some worlds felt relief, others felt fear, all felt respect. Human fleets began to withdraw, not in celebration, not in triumph, but in silence. On Brighton Station, the memorial was updated one final time, a single sentence added beneath the name. Never again. Human soldiers returned home. Many carried scars, some carried loss, none carried regret. The galaxy changed after that war. Empires learned caution, patrol ships learned restraint, weapons learned to stay lowered near human space. Because everyone remembered what happened when one child died. They learned that humans did not rush to war. Humans waited, prepared, measured, and when humans finally acted, they acted completely. The story spread from world to world, from species to species. A simple rule was passed quietly through the stars. Never test humanity by harming what they protect, because humans do not forget children, and they do not forgive those who make them targets. The war was over, but the galaxy did not return to normal. Trade routes reopened slowly, fleets moved with caution, patrol ships reduced their speed near human space. Everyone was watching Earth now. The Galactic Empire still existed, but it was no longer feared, it was no longer loud. Its leaders were gone, its pride broken. A new council formed, careful with words, careful with actions, because humans were listening. Across neutral worlds, stories spread, not as propaganda, but as warnings. They spoke about how humans stayed silent, how humans waited, how humans chose the moment. Alien children were taught a new rule: do not touch human civilians, do not threaten human worlds. Not because humans were cruel, but because humans responded completely. On Earth, life slowly returned to routine. Cities repaired damage, factories shifted back to civilian work. But something had changed. Humans looked at the stars differently now. Military academies updated their lessons, not to celebrate victory, but to study restraint. Young officers learned one truth: power was not proven by destruction, power was proven by control. On Brighton Station, the memorial became a place of pilgrimage, not only for humans, but for aliens too. Some came to understand, others came to apologize. No guards stopped them. The name carved into steel remained untouched, cleaned daily, protected quietly. Human parents often stood there, holding their children close, reminding themselves what had been defended. Far from Earth, a small alien world faced a crisis. Pirates attacked its settlements. Its defenses failed. They sent a message, not to the Empire, but to Earth. The request was simple: help. Human ships arrived within days, not war fleets, but protective escorts. They drove the pirates away, repaired defenses, then left. No demands were made. The galaxy noticed this too. Humans did not seek dominance, they sought balance. An alien diplomat once asked a human official, "What happens if someone breaks the rules?" Again, the human answer was calm: "We will remind them." The diplomat did not ask how. Years passed. The story of the child became history, then legend. But humans never allowed it to become myth, because myths fade, lessons do not. Every human ship still carried the same rule: civilian lives are not targets, ever. Human commanders enforced it strictly. Even when it cost them advantage, that discipline became feared, because it meant humans chose when to stop. One day, a young alien asked their teacher, "Why did humans scare the galaxy so much?" The teacher answered honestly, "Because they showed what happens when patience ends." The galaxy learned to live with humanity. Not under it, not above it, beside it, and in quiet corners of space. Among traders, soldiers, and explorers, one sentence was still shared: spoken softly, never mocked. If you want peace with humans, protect what they protect. Because the galaxy survived many wars, but it only needed one lesson to remember humanity forever.